I've been putting this one off for a long time. And for some reason, I've decided to do it while I've got a bit of a cold and it's like 12 degrees outside. So bear with me if I sound a little under the weather, but I wanted to finally make this video going over my story. So I've shared snapshots of kind of my journey from when I first started entrepreneurship to where I've gotten to today. But in this video, it's gonna be a bit of a longer one. I just wanted to walk you through all the way from when I started, all the different phases at my different ages and different parts of my journey to kind of where I've gotten to today, and I guess what the plan is moving forward. So hopefully at least one person watching this video can kind of see that entrepreneurship and the journey isn't as glamorous as it looks on Instagram, and it gives you some motivation and some inspiration to keep moving forward. And I'm also doing this to kind of document my own journey, so in 10, 20, 30 years I can kind of look back on where I was and what I was doing at the time. And I've actually written down some notes so I can keep track. Okay, I think it probably makes the most sense to start when I was about 12 years old in primary school. So I come from a relatively large family. I'm the middle child. At the moment I'm 25. But I have an older sister who's 4 years older, an older brother who's 4 years older. I have a younger brother who's 4 years younger, and then a young brother who's 4 years younger. And I've got two loving, amazing parents. So when I was in primary school at around about 12 years old, and for context, primary school here in Australia is like the school before high school, which is kind of like where you have your senior year, and then you move on to university or college afterwards. So that's just for some context. When I was 12 and I was in primary school, our family, we've never really had any money. We come from very humble beginnings. You know, we weren't like, you know, fully on the street or anything like that. We got pretty close, which I'll touch on. But we never really had anything, so I kind of always had like hand-me-down clothes. We used to do shopping at like op shops, which is for international people. It's kind of like, you know, families will give their clothes to, like, I guess, like the less fortunate, and those kind of stores you can go and buy like a pair of pants for 50 cents, but it's got like a hole in it and it doesn't fit and it's stained. That was kind of where I got all of my clothes from, and then I kind of had kind of like hand-me-downs. So when I was 12 years old, I didn't really know how bad things were financially and like, I guess, like house and home security wise for my family, which at the time was a blessing when I was really young, but then I kind of started to realize that as I got older. And now this story kind of starts a little bit sad, but this is definitely not a violin moment. It has a very happy ending, but I just want to share this for people to sort of show you that if you come from very humble beginnings and you don't really have any wealth around you, you don't really have any people around you who can show you the way or guide you or role models, you can make it. And you can kind of get out and change the scenario, not just for yourself, but most importantly, your loved ones and your family, your parents, your siblings, all around you. You just have to learn the skills to do so. And so when I was 12 years old, I first started off pretty ignorant, but then I started to actually learn how bad things were. So for example, when I was 12, at school, I used to ask kids for lunch money, because for lunch, mum used to give me like, we'd have like bread with like peanut butter on it. And that was kind of like it for lunch. So I used to ask kids for lunch money, and that was when I sort of started getting bullied and started getting teased for asking kids for money. I never had like, I had like holes and stuff like ripped all in my sneakers, so when I'd go out at, you know, playtime and I'd come back inside on a wet day, I had to like take my shoes off, my socks were covered in mud, and teachers used to like scream and yell at me because I'd be like bringing mud into the classroom because of my shoes. And so that was kind of where I started to first see the discrepancy of, oh, like I don't have Nikes, like I don't have new shoes, like I can't get like, you know, a meat pie or something at lunch like the other kids can, or like a dim sum or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like I couldn't buy, you know, soft drink or a Coca-Cola at lunchtime or before school or after school. You know, we didn't have bikes that we could ride to school like other kids did. So this was, at first I didn't notice, I was pretty ignorant, but then I started to slowly see the gaps, and I started to get pretty heavily bullied when I was younger for things like asking for money. So a story was, there were kids I used to hang out with at the skate park, and I used to ask them for money. So we'd go down to like local fish and chip shop, and they would all put in like $3 that they got for like bus money, something from their parents for lunch, and I used to always ask for food and ask for lunch money. And I remember one day I came back to the skate park, and those group of guys, so about 4 guys, who I thought were literally my best friends at the time, had graffitied all across the skate park, "Lockie Pure is a scab." So, you know, spray cans and everything all across the skate park, who I thought were like my closest friends. They graffitied the skate park, slandering me. And, you know, I shouldn't have been asking them for money, but, you know, I was 12 years old. I really didn't understand you know, why you shouldn't do that, or that I should have gone and got a job or mowed lawns or something like that. And I actually have some of my old school books as well. I look back, and at this point in my life, I thought I was going to be a carpenter. So I used to look at videos of people playing Minecraft and building things and stuff like that, and so I thought that was really cool, and I wanted to be someone, you know, in the future that would build things. So at this stage of my life, I thought I was going to be a carpenter at 12 years old. So things proceeded like this, kind of from like ages 12 to up to 16. And I slowly became more and more kind of aware of our family's financial situation, you know, over those years, as everyone in my social group got older, and as I got older, and as the differences kind of became more clear. Now, when I hit 16, that's when things got really fun. So when I was 16, that's kind of when things did kind of hit a bit of a rock bottom in terms of this sort of stuff. And so I remember very vividly, like it was yesterday, I remember I was 16 years old, and our family couldn't pay the rent. So my dad, what he did for a living, I love my parents, so this is nothing against my parents at all, because they had their own troubles as well in their childhood. My dad, he sold seafood, so he was an entrepreneur. So he would literally go and knock on doors, business to business. So he would go down to like a shopping center, for example. He would run into the different stores in the shopping center, like retail stores, cafes, and he would try and sell seafood to the people working in the store. So imagine if you're working at like, you know, a grocery store, and some guy runs up to you inside, he tries to sell you some salmon or whatever it is, right? Pretty funny. Absolute hustle, my dad. Like, he busted his ass to provide for me and my family. And so at this age, when I was 16, dad probably would have been in his early 60s. And so he was carrying around this heavy 20 kilogram bag full of seafood, running door to door. So his body was like physically deteriorating and breaking down, which was exceptionally hard for me to see every day. So he would come home, I remember it very vividly, and he hadn't made any sales, because that's a tough fucking job, and his body was breaking down, and I helped him at 16 like unload all the fish back into the freezer in our basement. And at this time, we were getting eviction notices, and we were about to be kicked out of our house. And I remember walking in to my mum's room, into her bathroom, and I saw her cutting her wrists, because my mum was suicidal at the time. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to make this video, because that's a very personal thing for me to share for myself and also for my family. And I almost feel a little bit emotional talking about it, but I wanted to share like some of the things that happened to me when I was younger that has sort of created almost like traumatic events that forced me to pivot, you know. And so when you have really bad situations in life that really scar you traumatically, like we all have had, you can choose to shy away from that and, you know, close up and do nothing about it, or you can choose to try and pivot out the other side and decide, now I will change my life and I will do things to provide for the people in my life that can't do so for themselves. And so at the age of 16, that was when I had that moment in my life where I saw the look on my parents' faces and the stress and the panic attacks that my mum was suffering from. My dad's body was physically breaking down. He hated his fucking life, going out having to sell seafood every day at the age of 60. And my parents were suicidal, and I had to do something as a kid. There was nobody else in my family at the time that could do anything. So this is actually when I first started looking into making money online. I didn't do it to become some cool online internet entrepreneur. I didn't even know what that was back then. I just knew I had to make money at 16. So I started Googling how to make money online, and I started getting hit with all the typical, like, you know, at the time I don't even think dropshipping was really a thing. It was more like affiliate marketing, you know, these weird internet businesses, SEO agencies and stuff. So I started seeing these things. So that was kind of how I first got exposed to online business. But in terms of entrepreneurship, I got exposed to that through my father, because he wasn't like a dentist or an accountant or, you know, any kind of, I guess, normal job. And, you know, it's interesting looking back now on this period of my life, because I was a very insecure, young, angry kid at this time, and I'm really regretful of the bullying that I actually put other kids through. So in high school, so I was 16, so it would have been about year 10, year 8, year 9, year 10, around about these years, in terms of like the school year, right? I actually bullied kids in high school, and I am very, very regretful of that. And I've messaged a lot of people that I did bully way back in the day. You know, I didn't hit anybody or do anything physical like that, but I just used my words to lash out against people, because I was in so much pain back at my house and back in my family life. And because I was also bullied when I was younger for not having any money, of like the prior, essentially, you know, 3, 4, 5 years at that time, I really lashed out at people. I also remember during this time, I was extremely protective of my 2 young brothers. While I didn't know it at the time, and I bullied them as well, I really wanted to shield them from seeing the full picture, because if I was 16, they would have been 12 and 8 years old, my two younger brothers. I really shielded them from the family situation, how bad things were, and the lack of home security that we had. Like, we were looking at commission housing and things like that, which is like basically government housing here in Australia, and having to be ripped out of school, lose all of our friends and things like that. And so I kind of shielded them from that, and I didn't really know it at the time because I wanted to protect them. So I've always tried to protect my family at the different stages the best I could. So fast forward from about 16 to about 17, I was starting to look into online business, but to be honest, I had a lot of self-doubt because I'd never known anyone who had made any kind of real money in life or really owned a successful business. So I was like looking into it and I was trying to learn, but my approach to try and help out my family was to get my first official job at a movie cinema called Hoyts here in Australia. So it's like a typical movie theater where people come and pay money to watch movies, right? And so I was working at the front desk and I was like handing out tickets, I was like filling bags of popcorn and all that kind of stuff. And at this time, I was also smoking a lot of weed and marijuana, whatever you call it where you're from, to basically try to escape. So, I wasn't doing anything like any kind of like hard drugs or anything crazy. I wasn't like a bad person at all, but just casually and leisurely, I would smoke weed to try and escape, because I remember when I smoked weed, it kind of distracted me from my family life. And so that was probably one of the biggest regrets I do have, is getting into that habit, because it made me extremely unproductive when I was actually doing that. So when I wasn't doing that, I was at Hoyts and I was trying to make money. I was making anywhere from about $150 a week to about $250 a week, like serving tickets and filling bags of popcorn. And this was when I had my first introduction to personal development and like books. So in high school, I actually developed a hatred for books because I hated school. I did not do well in school. I could have done well in school, but I just knew that I didn't want to go to university long term. I don't have anything against university. I just knew that my family's situation, I couldn't go and do like a 4-year degree. We couldn't afford it. So there's no point me doing it. So I remember getting force-fed like textbooks and things like that in high school, and I hated books. However, when I got a job at the movie theater, and because my family situation at the time, because we couldn't pay rent, I knew I had to do something. So when I was searching how to start an online business and things, I discovered the world of personal development and books. So the two books that absolutely changed my life, which I highly recommend you read, is number 1, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, and number 2, How to Win Friends and Influence People, I believe by Dale Carnegie. So those two books are amazing. So when I got the job at Hoyts, for the first time in my life, I picked up a personal development book and I said, I have to become someone I've never been before to achieve the results I've never gotten before. So on my lunch breaks, I would actually sit down and I would start reading How to Win Friends and Influence People and Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins, I'll share a lesson with you that I took away at this point in my life, was you can instantly change everything about your life like that. It doesn't have to take years and years and years to change your identity, to change your life. You actually change your entire life in the moment of decision where you change your identity. Then it's just a longer feedback loop for life to bring into your life the things, like the material things, the income, the friends, the relationships that are aligned with that new identity. And an example he gives in the book is, it doesn't take 10 years to quit cigarettes. It takes 10 years to build up to the moment of pain where you hate your life enough, or you get diagnosed with cancer or something, where you make a decision in the moment to quit cigarettes, and from then on, you identify as no longer a smoker. So that was something that I took away from Awaken the Giant Within, and I said, I am going to change my life. I can no longer allow myself and my family to go through that. I need to change my life now and become, I didn't even know how to articulate this at the time, like a successful online entrepreneur. I didn't know that. I just knew that I had to make money in some way, and the $200 a week basically income I was making at the movie theater wasn't going to cut it. The second book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, was the first time that I ever experienced, I don't want to say like having charisma, because I'm not sure if that's the right word for it, but actually being able to really easily make friends and actually leave people better off rather than worse off, because I was bullied, and therefore I bullied people. I was not good at actually making people feel amazing, right? So when I got the job at Hoyts, what I started doing was I took away something from How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is people love talking about themselves. People have passions and hobbies. So I made it a point at every shift, because I'd be moved around the cinema and I'd meet lots of other young people my age, right? I would always make an effort to find out, what is this person passionate about? For example, let's just say I meet a girl named Jane on my shift that I've never met before. Instead of just talking about dumb, whatever, social media things or whatever that people, or TV shows more really at that time, that young kids did. Instead, I'll say, hey Jane, like, what do you do when you're not at work? Like, what really lights you up? Like, what makes you really passionate? What do you get excited about? I would find out that she's a piano player and she's been learning piano. I'd say, oh, that's amazing. Like, do you usually do that on the weekends? And she'd say, oh yeah, I actually have a piano recital this weekend. I'd say, oh, that is so amazing. Like, good luck with your piano recital and things like that. And then the next shift where I would see Jane, instead of just dawdling over to one of my co-workers, Jane, and saying, oh, what did you get up to on the weekend, or blah, 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 I'd say, Jane, like, how did you go with your piano recital on the weekend, or piano concert, or whatever the word is for it? Like, how did it go? Did you crush it? Like, I know that you said you were going to play that song by XYZ person. How did that song go? Do you feel like you nailed it? And that was a huge, I know that sounds like, well, Lockie, that's how you make friends and communicate with people. Yeah, I know now, but I didn't know back then. And so I made an effort to every single person I meet on my shift and at that company, I'm gonna find out what their number one passion is, what gets them excited. I'm gonna learn more about it. And then every time I see them, I'm gonna remind them that I know, not from like, I know that you like piano, but genuinely taking an interest in them. And what I found was I started to leave people better off. And that was my first experience in life as a young kid who was previously a very angry, insecure kid who was throwing a lot of pain into the world, where I actually flipped it on its head and I was adding so much happiness, so much enthusiasm, so much positivity into the world and the people that surrounded me. And I took that back to my home and I started doing the same things for my little brothers, my older siblings, and my parents, so I could try and distract everybody from the reality of the pain of the financial situation we're in. I tried to overcome that with positivity, enthusiasm, reminding people of what things in life you can get excited about and what to focus on. And that was a really big breakthrough moment for me at that stage of my life, that also aligned quite well with the Tony Robbins stuff of you can create an instant identity shift, and the things that have happened to you in your past will not dictate what will happen to you in your future. It's how you determined to respond to the things that have happened in your past that will determine where you end up in your future. So going from 17 to 18 is actually when I finished high school. So for the people watching this, when I finished high school, that's the year that everyone then decides to go into university or college. You have to do like all your exams, get like an official grade to be able to qualify for a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or whatever it is that you want to go and study. Not only could we not afford to do that, but I also knew that I just didn't necessarily want to do that. Again, nothing against university, I think it's a great path. However, it wasn't the path for me. And so at the time, I was still failing like online businesses. I was trying things now like drop shipping, Amazon. I hadn't quite tried that just yet. But all the agency stuff, all the typical online things you were trying, I was failing miserably, like really miserably. I was spending my $250 a week paycheck from Hoyts. Every single week I was putting it all into Facebook ads and Google ads and softwares to start businesses. And so I'd be at my job, or I would have been smoking weed, which I shouldn't have, or I'd be trying to start my business and putting all my money into that and failing miserably while being surrounded by an environment that wasn't very good, with my parents basically being evicted from their house, right? And so when I was 18, I left high school and then I immediately moved into a cold calling job. So towards the end of high school, I actually tried making sales calls from my basement in my parents' house. Now I'll probably talk about that in another video because I want to keep this as brief as I possibly can, even though I know it's going for ages. And I tried to start my own SEO agency. I made a few cold calls and I felt absolutely sick. I probably made like 6 phone calls in like 4 weeks because I kept putting it off again and again. And so I think it may have been like Mark Cuban or something. But I heard some, online, some business guy say, you have to learn sales. Like sales is the #1 skill to be successful. So I was like, fuck it, I guess I'll get a sales job. I hate doing it here. So I need to get a job where I'm forced to do it. So I went into work for a company called Census, who actually owns the Yellow Pages. So like the big, thick Yellow Page phone book. Yeah, so I went to work for that company, which was the biggest digital marketing agency in Australia at the time. It may still be because they're so big. They had thousands of employees. And so I went to work for them. So I got a job cold calling. So at the age of 18, I got my first official full-time 9-to-5 job. And I went to work at Census. Now, a funny story actually, when I completed my interview there, I was operating out of such terror and such fear from what I saw with my mum and my dad and getting eviction notices, that at the end of the job, I actually offered to work for free. Now, I didn't know that this was a huge company with thousands of employees, and they were trying to fill their sales room with backpackers and anyone that would take the job, right? Because it was a shit job, like it was shit work. And so I actually offered to work for free. And the hiring manager looks at me, she's like, looking at me like I'm kind of crazy. She's like, no, it's okay, Lockie, you know, it's a big company. We can, if you get the job, we can pay you. I was like, okay, thanks, I really appreciate it. And so I left the interview. I ended up getting the job, probably because they just thought, oh, well, screw it, we'll give the kid a try. If he doesn't work out, it's no loss anyway. And so I showed up, and that was my first experience ever actually becoming great at something. So fortunately, leading up to that past 12 months, I was reading the Tony Robbins books, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I knew that I wanted to get a sales job, so I started reading The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. I started devouring books. I became really obsessed with personal development and turning my life around. And I obviously had a lot of motivation, my family's financial situation, to make it work. So when I got the job at Census, I went from an 18-year-old with 0 sales experience at a company. We had around about 30, probably 35 salespeople in the sales team that I was on. And they would have been aged anywhere from probably like late 20s to early 30s. All of them, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6+ years of sales experience. And I was 18, had no sales experience. I just read books on sales. And I went from the bottom of that company all the way to the top in 60 days. So my first 60 days in my first 9-to-5 job, I became the top sales rep in the company, and I broke all of the company records. And I did that operating out of fear. Now, I'll film another video where I go into specific details on steps that you can follow to duplicate the success that I had in that role. But the long story short was, I was so terrified of getting fired for not making sales because of where we were at, and also just the humiliation of how big of a hit that would be to my self-esteem. I just went crazy. I would show up 2 hours early before work every day. What I had to actually do was call tradespeople. So I would show up, and for about the first hour of the day, I would go to websites like High Pages, Gumtree, you know, for other people, international, it's like Yelp, business listings, Craigslist, and I would find different small businesses that were in trades like carpenters, tilers, plumbers, concreters. I would put together a list of, you know, about 100 different phone numbers, and then when the day would start, like when I finished my list, I would start cold calling them. And in the space of about 20 to 45 minutes on average, I would sell them a $2,000 per year digital marketing package. So this was a complete cold call. I had to generate my own lists. I would say the only actual benefit I had going for me that helped with the sale was that I was calling from Yellow Pages Online. So I did have a brand name behind me, but I can tell you Yellow Pages Online wasn't necessarily like the best brand name. I wasn't calling from Louis Vuitton and saying, hey, you know, you want to run some Facebook ads, or, you know, want to set up a Yellow Page digital ad. I was calling from Yellow Pages, right? So I'd call up tradies in the space of about that time frame. I would actually get them to sign up to a verbal contract over the phone for a $2,000 to $5,000 marketing package. And so I would do that, and I would sell anywhere from, you know, some days I would sell 0 units, but being candid, on average, I typically sell 1 unit on the low end, 2 units on average per day, and then sometimes 4 units when I had a really good day. And so that was my first, and I did that by applying the principles that I learned from all the personal development books, and because I was running from terror. And that was my first experience in my entire life actually becoming really good at something and actually achieving, I definitely wouldn't say mastery, but I was there for about 1.5 years. And throughout that 1.5 years, I got really, really, really good. And I got good very fast because I would go directly to the top salesperson. I'd say, hey, what are you doing that's different to everyone else? Funnily enough, he said, well, first thing I do is I don't use the script that they have. I have my own script. I said, can you please show me what your script is? I'll buy you lunch, I'll do anything. Please show me what that script is. And so he showed me the script, and then I got good enough at that script, and then I started innovating on top of it, and that's how I got better than all the other reps. And that was huge for me because I started making enough money in commissions and with my salary to actually pay for my parents' rent. So I was like, whew, you know, finally we're out from underneath this rock, and I could pay for my family's rent, and so I could actually cover those bills. So my mum, she could stop having panic attacks. and suicidal thoughts. My dad, he kept working because, you know, he just didn't want to leave it in my hands because I was 18. But the stress was off his shoulders, and my younger brothers, I could shield them from having to go through being, you know, ripped out of their home, which is a massive thing for me at the time. So from there, I was at that job for about a year and a half, and then I left that job at 19 to go work for a digital marketing agency here in Australia. And that was my first official marketing role. So it was my second official 9-to-5 job. And so while I was at the cold calling agency, I was still trying to launch all my online businesses on the side, failing miserably. So I failed for years and years and years, a minimum of 4 years of failure with my online businesses before I actually made them work. And I was spending all my money on ads, trying to learn how to run ads on the side. So I thought, hey, instead of selling, why don't I go get a job at a digital marketing agency where I can actually get paid to learn how to run ads from a digital marketing agency properly. And so I applied for a role and I got a job at a digital marketing agency here in Melbourne, Australia. And that was another phase of my life that completely changed everything. So when I got that job, I became sort of like a mentee of the founder of that company. So I essentially went to him because he was really good at marketing. I said, hey, if you were me, what would you do in this scenario? As funnily enough, I actually got and I took a big pay cut. So when I was at the cold calling job through commissions and everything, I was probably making anywhere from like $60,000 to $70,000 to $80,000 per year as an 18-year-old living at home. I mean, I was paying for the house, but like I was living at home, so that was pretty good. When I went and got a job as a digital marketer at this agency, I didn't have any proper experience, right? So fairly enough, I got a base salary of $40,000 per year. And I remember the founder was like in the interview, he's like, you know, I'm gonna have to pay you $40K a year because you're gonna take heaps of time to train, etc., etc. And I was like, done. Like snapped his hand off. He's like, you sure you don't want to think about it? I'm like, nah, I thought about it. I want to do it. And so I got the job, and then at the end of the interview, I always asked a lot of questions. That's something I think, if I could share with you, is always ask shitloads of questions. You will shortcut your process a lot. I said to the founder, if you were me, what would be the skill that you would learn? And he said, if I was you, I would learn direct response copywriting. I can get better results in my marketing campaigns than a single person on my entire team, and I could use no targeting in Facebook ads. I don't have to use any tactics. Simply from the words I can write, I can produce better results. And I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. And so then I went home and I Googled, what the hell is direct response copywriting? And so I found out essentially it's just writing ads and like scripts that gets people to take action. Okay, so I think I probably had around about a month between when I got the job and when I actually started on my first day, and I just devoured books on direct response copywriting for that month. And I would rip pages out, I'd stick them in my notepad. I had decided I will master direct response copywriting because that's what this guy said I should do to be successful. And at the time, he was probably running a $8 to maybe a $10 million per year agency. So I said, I'm going to study this guy, I'm going to learn from this guy. And so that period I dedicated it to reading books and reading old ads. So I had a big folder of old ads that I would print out, and instead of listening to music or watching YouTube videos on the train to and from work, I stopped all social media and I just read old school ads written by some of the best copywriters who have ever lived. And doing that for a year and a half that I worked at that agency, I got very, very, very good at direct response marketing. So I would show up, and I was actually a Facebook media specialist by trade. So my job was I'd show up. When I first started, I was managing about 20 clients. So I would actually be running the Facebook ads and the Instagram ads for 20 separate businesses, some of them e-commerce, some of them local service businesses like real estate agents, accountants, things like that. And by the end of it, I was managing about 50 clients. So I was probably managing anywhere from probably on the low end, $40,000 a month in ad spend. On the high end, probably around about $90,000 per month on ad spend for the clients that I was managing. And I would rewrite their campaigns, optimize their campaigns, set up the targeting, create new images so that their cost per lead and their cost per purchases on the Facebook ads we were running were profitable, and we could retain the clients. They were all probably paying around about $1,500 to $2,000 per month to the agency, and I was sitting there on the team writing them. And I would ask questions relentlessly to the founder on my lunch breaks, whenever he'd walk past my desk. I really learned a lot from that man. I'm really appreciative of that because it taught me the skill set I knew I would need to go and start my own company down the line. So if I have any lessons from that period of my life where I went from just a sales guy learning how to sell, took a massive pay cut, but then I used the same skill learning principles that I applied at the sales role to this role for marketing. Then I got really good over that year and a half. It's definitely have a mentor. If you can find a mentor in your life who has already done and learnt the things that you're trying to do or has the result that you want, you can massively shortcut your learning curve. However, a lot of people, they complain about not being able to find a mentor, but you will only get a mentor when you are deserving of a mentor. Obviously, you have to go find them and you can get lucky in things. However, a lot of people, they want a mentor, but you yourself are not committed fully. You haven't gone 2 feet in. You haven't burnt the bridges of all these little other things that you're trying to make work and get off the ground. A worthwhile mentor will only want to mentor a worthwhile mentee. So if you can find a mentor, go 100% and commit fully and apply what they teach you and ask questions incessantly, and you would just go and you will skyrocket. So about a year and a half into that role, we actually ended up starting our own agency. Now, funnily enough, I actually met my co-founder who we started Veridus Digital with, Lucas, great guy, highly recommend. We actually met sitting next to each other at the agency. So I was a Facebook media buyer by trade and he was an account manager by trade. So what that means is he was actually meeting with the clientele of the agency and he was actually managing up to 120 clients at one time, which is pretty crazy. So he was a great account manager and he was also very skilled at search engine optimization, so SEO, helping businesses rank higher on Google. I was really good at copywriting, Instagram ads, Facebook ads, sales funnels, Google ads, webinars, video sales letters, all that kind of stuff, and he was really good at that side. So I actually met him because we were sitting next to each other, and essentially we then went and started our own agency. At the time, it was called Digital Knockout, which is a terrible name. I don't know why we named it that, but that's what we named it. And so at the age of 20, that's when I officially left like the 9-to-5 life, and we went to start our own agency. So we were fully employed, self-employed. It was pretty stressful, I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty stressful. We were actually hustling from Lucas's dining room table at the time. I'll see if I can get a photo to show up here on the screen. And he was doing all the client delivery and fulfillment and account management, and I was doing all the sales. And because I had learned how to sell at the cold calling job and I'd learned how to market at the agency job, we grew very fast. We grew from a $0 to $40,000 per month in recurring revenue in about 90 days from scratch. So $500,000 a year in 90 days was pretty good. I was 20, Lucas would have been 24 at the time, I believe. And that was really good. And so that meant that I could still help pay for my family's rent and help cover their car repayments and all the bills, so they didn't have to get stressed out while I could actually go and build my own thing. Now, we had lots of stages of our agency. Today it's called Veridus Digital. Thank God we renamed it a long time ago. But stage one was I only knew how to market and sell. So I had terrible leadership. So I was 20 years old. I didn't know anything about leadership. I didn't know how to train, manage, hire, recruit employees. So the first few employees we brought on when I was 20 years old, I thought the solution to everything in business was sales and marketing. So I'd like lock myself in the corner in the room and our employees would be trying to fulfill on the client work. They'd be trying to help out with different systems and things. I just didn't pay attention to them because what I'd learned from my mentor at the digital marketing agency was I learned all the skills and sales and benefits of marketing, but because I saw him lock himself in his room and not really focus on the employees and the culture and stuff like that, I did the same thing. So another interesting lesson looking back is when you have mentors, you will inherit their benefits, but you will also inherit their blind spots and their limiting beliefs. So you need to be cautious, and that's why it's good to have a few different mentors and always be asking yourself self-evaluating questions to what are my limiting beliefs, what are my weaknesses, where are my blind spots, because that caused a lot of trauma. I was a really bad manager and I was a really bad leader and a really bad, entrepreneur to be candid. In those early stages, all I did was focus on selling and marketing. So we generated a lot of revenue and a lot of money. However, the work conditions for our team just wasn't good. I didn't set a vision for the company. We didn't have systems and processes in place. So the client delivery was systematic and always really high quality. I would sell a new client, I'd hand it over to Lucas, and then Lucas and the team would just try and get things done willy-nilly, which is no discredit to anyone on the delivery team. We just didn't set the leadership and we didn't lead by example and have those quality assurance systems in place. Now, the second stage of Veridus Digital at this time was we actually tried to do the leadership thing. So we brought on lots of people, we tried to lead people well, put systems in place, and we did a lot better and we kept growing well and truly beyond $1 million a year in revenue. However, I was also very distracted. So the shiny object, it would always catch my eye. And so Lucas and I, we tried to launch lots of different side businesses. You know, we had a skincare cream, we had a corporate photography business, we had multiple jewelry businesses. You know, we probably tried to launch a good, at least 8 different side businesses while we were running the agency, you know, signing up new clients, helping our employees, and all those kind of things. However, we brought on the wrong team. So the first team members we brought on, we had the mindset of, hey, why don't we pay really cheap employees to come on? Because if we pay people really cheaply, then we can have lots of employees, we can get lots of stuff done, but we can save money, right? Why not have 10 people, why have 5 people when you can have 10 people for the same amount of money, right? So dumb, so dumb. I've made many of those mistakes. And so what happened was we brought lots of people on, but nobody knew how to do anything. So Lucas and I were really the only ones that actually knew how to run the campaigns to the level at which they needed to be run and sell clients at the level at which they needed to be sold for us to run a profitable organization. So we had, at one stage back in the day, about 12 employees internally in our office. I probably would have been around about 21 at the time when this happened, and we were making no money. We were doing probably anywhere from like 1 to 2 million a year in revenue, probably closer to 2 million, but all of our money was going towards employees and salaries and software and costs and mistakes that people were making, not because our team wasn't good, but because we were terrible leaders. We're trying to do more of it, but we brought people in who were underqualified for the role, and we had split focus, and we're trying to launch all these different side businesses. So if we had not had any side businesses and we'd focused 100% on training the team and hiring people that already knew how to actually solve the problems that we were hiring them to solve, that would have been a significantly better experience. But we were young entrepreneurs and we're very distracted. So if you're in your beginning stages of entrepreneurship, or even in your later stages, make sure that you're not getting distracted. Make sure you're focusing on one thing and building that to the level at which it's required to hit the goals that you want to hit. Now, at this time, this was around about lockdowns, maybe in the first or second lockdowns here in Melbourne, we got it pretty badly. We actually launched Scal Smart, which is our business to consumer coaching business. So we actually taught people how to start their own successful digital marketing agency, because we had done the same thing for ourselves, and we scaled that business very quickly. So we scaled that business from $0 to $650,000 per month cash in 90 days from scratch. And I did that using an automated webinar. So an automated webinar is essentially like a 2.5 hour video presentation, like a slideshow presentation, where I take someone who knows nothing about me to actually buying our coaching program at the price was around about $2,000. Without ever speaking with me or me having to take sales calls. We sent them to a checkout and they would purchase it. So we helped thousands and thousands of students, which I'm really proud of, in that program, and we grew that really fast when lockdowns hit, which was pretty resourceful of us at the time, because we had to, because Melbourne was getting shut down and businesses couldn't even operate. So we ended up generating millions of dollars in revenue and helping thousands of people generate their first income online by showing them how to start their own digital marketing agency, which was really awesome. And while we were doing this, we actually ended up finding amazing people for our digital marketing agency, Veridus, bringing in amazing people and getting us to $3 million a year in revenue and having amazing client fulfillment systems, great culture, which we're really proud of as well. Now, this kind of brings us to sort of today. So about 10 months ago, we actually redeveloped the entire Scal Smart product. So instead of teaching people how to start their own digital marketing agencies, we discovered that people didn't really want to learn how to have to sell clients and manage clients and take sales calls and run a business. They just wanted to make an extra few $1,000s per month online. So we redeveloped the entire program called AI Evolution, where what we do is we show everyday people how to make an income online without having to actually start a massive business, hire employees. So people come to us and we train them on how to send emails to businesses on behalf of our agency, Veridus Digital. So for example, if you're a student of ours, I'll show you how to send an email to a local chiropractor down the road saying, hey, my name's John, I'm a partner with Veridus Digital. We help other chiropractors get amazing results through digital marketing. Do you want to speak with our team and see if we can do the same thing for you? So you send that email to the chiropractor, they'll respond to your email saying, yes, I'm interested in having a chat. You then forward their contact details to us, and I have a full sales team over here at Veridus Digital. We'll call them up, we'll sign the client up to a $2,000 per month or more marketing package where we'll actually run their ads, and then we'll pay you an ongoing commission check for actually sending that email on behalf of us. So that means that you win because you get paid an income, or our students win, right? Because you get paid an income every single month by providing real value to a business without having to manage the client. You don't have to sell the client or speak with them or know anything about digital marketing. We win because we get a new client. We didn't have to send out all the emails to do it. We just have to get on a phone conversation and sign them up. And the client wins because that chiropractor, we're amazing at what we do here at Veridus Digital. And so we can actually help them get more business. So we repackaged AI Evolution about 10 months ago now, and that's scaling and growing very, very fast. And at Veridus Digital, we're now pushing the limits and we're developing, we're actually rolling it out already. It's really exciting actually, an AI-powered pay-per-show nurture system. So a lot of digital marketing agencies, they lock clients into like a $2,000 per month marketing retainer on a 12-month contract with no guarantees. And you don't know if you're going to get results or not get results. So that's why a lot of people feel like they've been burned by their agencies. So what we've developed is we build out an entire artificial intelligence and machine learning powered CRM system and lead nurture system. So for example, for a chiropractor, we'll say, don't even pay us a monthly retainer, just pay us when someone actually shows up at your doorstep. And then what we'll do is we'll build out a conversational AI chatbot powered by ChatGPT-4 and a lot of other elements, so that when we get a new lead on Facebook, for example, for the chiropractor, we can automatically nurture that lead all the way from clicking on the ad to actually booking in with the chiropractor and showing up at the chiropractor's location, literally at their doorstep, without any humans involved, perfectly, in a way that the consumer feels like it's a personal experience speaking with a professional at the chiropractor's business. So that means we get way higher show rates for all of our clients. We don't just generate leads and say to the chiropractor, hey dude, you have to now go and sell it. You have to call all these leads, because they don't want to do that. They just want to work with new patients. So we can do that. We can work all the leads for them, actually get them to show up using AI and machine learning. And they only have to pay us when someone actually shows up at their practice. So it's a way better offer for agencies. And what does that mean? It means our students who are sending emails on behalf of our agency can also offer the same thing in their emails. So we're now at a point in the company where we have, in our two primary companies, Scal Smart and Veridus Digital, we have over 20 full-time employees, and many more of you include contractors and things like that we help and provide employment to, which is really awesome. However, the exciting thing is the synergies between the companies. So for example, no agency has a team of hundreds of people who are all generating leads for them, which means we have a $0 acquisition cost, and no online business kind of opportunity has something where people can just send emails and literally get paid without having to do any sales calls or run any ads, by providing real values to companies. So it means that we can offer on both sides of our companies things that people have never experienced before, literally in the world. So I'm so excited for what we're building, because we're just at the start. And what we're doing right now is we're brickifying our products, we're brickifying our culture, our team, our acquisition processes, which means making them bulletproof, so that when we put our foot on the gas, we're gonna go. And I'm really, really excited to do that, because for me, what gets me excited every day is waking up and building cool shit with amazing people that creates a massive impact in the lives of our students and of our clients. And so that's kind of where we're at today, at $7 million in revenue per year across our portfolio of brands. And I still make mistakes every single day, just like I did back in the day, but I'm trying to get better. And a part of documenting this video and the videos I'm going to be creating moving forward on this channel is to share the journey and to share the process with you. So hopefully you can learn some lessons, take some inspiration from all of my failures and mistakes, which, trust me, there will be many more to come, and you can apply it to your own life to hopefully start hitting some of your goals and provide some more value to the people around you. So I'm really fortunate that today my family members and the people around me don't have to suffer financially in any way whatsoever, and they have the freedom and the lifestyle that they've always dreamed of. And I want to share some more lessons with you guys so you guys can do the same thing. So that's kind of the end of the video. Thanks for watching this one. I know it was a long one, but I wanted to kind of document this and get it out there so that you can hopefully find some lessons to shortcut the learning curve of hitting your goals. So I'll keep you posted on how we go.